Well, we've got the second race about to come up for the Scottish Classic Saloon Championship, and again, over the moon with the sight of these cars. Russell Patterson won the first race. John Kimmond in the lovely Rover Vitesse V8. But we're going to have a quick chat with Mr. Reynolds in this absolutely fantastic looking Escort Mark II. He was racing out in Thruxton last week, and here he is at Cadwell Park. How are you, sir?
Yeah, very good. Bit warm, but fine.
Oh, you've got a fan in there. That's not for the race, is it?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, you've got to take that out.
Built before the days of air conditioning, this.
Sure, we need it, don't we? Really do. Never mind, mustn't moan.
No, so you're out in Thruxton last week. You're here at Cadwell Park. You having a good time in the Escort at the moment?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, I'm enjoying it, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? And meeting new people and seeing some old friends. Good fun.
Yeah, I know. Where have you been so far this year, then?
Well, really, I've been around most of the circuits already. I think I've done about 5 or 6 circuits this year. Brands and Lyddon. Yeah. Well, you know, Lyddon next week again.
How's the car been coping?
Struggling with the heat.
Really?
Yeah, really is.
Yeah, was it down on power, or was it just not sticking to the road, not sticking to the road?
Yeah, and what happens then is when it does get hot, then you lose a bit of BHP. So, but anyway, I'm hoping not to get tucked up behind Andy this time.
You've got to get past him off the line, haven't you?
Yeah, I can get in front of him so I can get some clean air.
Yeah, good luck.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, and let's go and have a quick chat with this man here in the TR8. He looks rather warm. No air conditioning in there?
No, no conditioning whatsoever. But it is very, very hot.
Yeah, it is. These old cars, they don't like the heat really, do they?
No, not at all. I'm just hoping this is going to survive, because it is starting to get a little bit hotter again, so I'm just hoping with everything going well, it'll survive. I'll just try and keep this Escort behind me and stuff like that.
He was just saying he's after you on the line.
We'll see about that. I've got V8, so hopefully I'll get him off the line.
Yeah, perfect. Well, we can't wait to see what happens. Good luck.
Thanks very much.
I think we've got a few minutes, so let's have a bit of a wander around. Let's go and speak to Russell Patterson, winner of race 1. Russell, you've got to get it right off the line here, haven't you?
Well, I've got to make a better effort, yes. That was pathetic last time, but never mind.
Yeah, and that big Rover breathing down your neck, do you reckon he'll take you?
Yeah, he's very quick. It's hard to see at this track just what car is going to be quicker for the first few hundred yards. We shall see.
What's the track temperature's risen? It's very hot now. What difference is that going to make with the tyres? You've got to be a bit more careful.
Haven't a clue.
We'll wait and see, shall we?
First time at Cadwell we're running Yokohamas.
Yeah.
Today, never used them at Cadwell before. It's usually Dunlops. We'll soon find out when we're on track.
Yeah, we certainly will. Well, good luck.
Thank you very much.
It's a championship that you love yourself, and why don't you tell everyone at home what it is that you're attracted to for this championship?
Yeah, great variety of cars, competitiveness throughout, and enthusiastic drivers who are all supportive of each other and make the event not just an on-track spectacle, but off-track and socially. They have a great camaraderie, and the great atmosphere that goes with it is what makes it so enjoyable.
Yeah, it certainly is. And one thing that I love myself is just seeing these older cars pushed to their limits and pushed to where we used to see them back in the day. And obviously you've watched these cars growing up yourself, and I'm sure it's quite a spectacle seeing them back on track, finally pushed to the limit again.
Yeah, it is, and they are, as you describe them, pushed to the limit. They're enthusiastically driven by predominantly people who build them and maintain them themselves, and have been enthusiastic about them for many years. We have a combination today of predominantly cars that race in the Scottish Championship and several local competitors who've come as guests to support the event as well, which is very encouraging to see their enthusiasm for it. And the drivers and the club are delighted that once again, as we saw last year here, several local drivers have come along and are all part of the spectacle.
Yeah, it certainly is. And in race 1, we seen Russell Patterson storming off of the victory, and even in qualifying 4 seconds faster than everyone else in his Morgan. What do you think it is that sets him out from everyone else?
Well, he's a particularly experienced driver. He won already this year at this circuit. He won the Morgan Challenge here back in May. His car is in the invitation class of the championship, so it isn't the championship as such, it's invitation. So his car is particularly more powerful and developed than, say, the Blue Morgan we saw in the first race driven by his son Elliot, which sadly isn't in this race because it's had problems with the steering box, and it's not something that could be repaired at a track. So great disappointment for Elliot, who was going well in race 1. But yeah, there's quite a difference in specifications of these 2 Morgan cars.
Yeah, it certainly is. And as you mentioned, with that mechanical issue from Elliot Patterson, it shows once again with these old classic cars, with them getting pushed just as hard as they should be, mechanical issues do start to appear again, and they can be somewhat unreliable.
Yeah, you could have a problem. It's something that may occur anywhere without warning, and in the particular instance there was perhaps not something that would have been a regular or foreseen breakdown, and it's sad that having come all this way, only one race was completed. But from race 1, another driver, Alistair Coates, he's not starting this one either. That was the green Ford Escort that in the immaculate Walkinshaw period colours that we saw in the first event, number 2. So sadly he's not here, but we still have 18 and a competitive race ahead with, I'm sure, in the increasing heat, some testing times for tyres and brakes that some drivers found already in race 1 earlier on. Yeah, the conditions over 20 degrees right now at Cadwell Park, and the drivers just on the warm-up lap right now, just trying to get as much heat and temperature into their tyres without overheating them. And it's really at the point now where everyone, especially Andrew Graham, is just going to have to just try and find any way past Russell Patterson, because we've seen it in race 1. The start was not good, and somehow he still managed, after making a bad initial launch, to head up to that first corner first. So it's all going to be on start. Can Andrew Graham break Patterson's lead? Well, the first 3 cars certainly are all going to be quick off the line with the power they've got. But yeah, you do get situations now with components being at the height of their temperature that we may find they may not all get the best start. There's cars coming down the hill now there. We can see the Lotus of Craig Houston there, number 91. He had a minor clutch problem in race 1, but he managed to fight his way back up and finished very strongly. Charlie Cope's Golf there, just going through the picture, the white Golf. He had brake and tyre problems in race 1, but now hopefully fully resolved, and another good run from him, as this is a circuit that he's driven well at before. Yeah, and obviously, as we mentioned earlier, there's so many different styles of cars in this class. It's such an open class, and it's a great race because of that. Even though they're completely different cars, they still produce some great racing. But with it being such a hot day, do you think, for example, Russell Patterson in that pole position will be helped with the car having far more airflow coming to him in these hot conditions? Well, he's in a very, very well developed car. It should be well suited to this. It's in a state of development that you would find it hard to bet against him at this stage. But still, it's a competitive time on track, and in the hot conditions, who knows about reliability? It might vary. A couple of our guest drivers there, the Escort and the Mini Marcos, going through. Another one here, the Triumph GT6, and just in camera now there, the 247. That was the Clan Crusader of Peter Richards, who's been a campaigner of imp-powered clan cars for over 30 years, and a stalwart of club racing.
Yeah, we've seen him race one, Pete Richards, just getting that car squirrely. It's great seeing these cars getting pushed to the limit once again, but we wait for the cars to line up on what is going to be an exciting race, what is going to be race 2 of the Classic Sports and Saloon. We're going to wait for the board to raise in the air to signify to the drivers that there's 5 seconds until the race starts and until we get underway, and the tension will start to rise on the grid, and Russell Patterson will be hoping for a better start and be able just to get that car off the line, because next to him, of course, he does have John Kinmond, who got a pretty good start last time round, and he'll be wanting to try and recreate that and try and lead the way into the first corner. But the green flag waves at the back. The 5-second board is up in the air. We wait for the lights to appear on. The lights are on. And the lights are off, and we are racing for race 2 of the Classic Sports and Saloon. And once again, Russell Patterson did not get a great start, and it's going to be John Kinmond who leads the way heading into Coppets for the first turn. But Russell Patterson down the inside, just trying not to drop back to third place, staying in second. There's a car in the grass there, and once again we've seen it all clean through this first corner, but it's not Russell Patterson in first place right now, it's John Kinmond. John Kinmond leads the way.
Yeah, and Martin Reynolds did well there to get ahead of Andy Graham. Graham also under pressure here from Alistair Bapty in the MGB V8, followed by the 2 Golfs of Moll and Cope.
Yeah, we see just these cars, just how clean they look and just how well they've been looked after. And Martin Reynolds is one that sticks out to me, the Ford Escort. It just looks so good. And watching them come over the mountain, it's just great to see. It can put a smile on absolutely anyone's face. But John Kinmond still leads the way, and we've seen it in race 1. Just John Kinmond's driving style is something else.
Yeah, it can be quite spectacular at times. I watched him as he approached the hairpin in race 1, and it was a little lurid as the race developed, but yeah, always under control and taking advantage there of the slightly slower start by Patterson as we see them climbing up. Nice.
Yeah, now we know that Cadwell Park is so difficult to overtake, especially this back section and towards the hairpin and barn. But so the real question is going to be, can maybe John Kinmond just keep Russell Patterson behind for these 20 minutes and just defend for his life?
Yeah, this very long, wide car will be coming wider because he's centrally placed there. Patterson's getting closer, but not close enough. And we see then Reynolds keeping ahead of Graham, and a little gap there to Bapty, and a similar gap between the 2 Golfs.
Yeah, and John Kinmond obviously sits fastest lap of the race as he's in the lead of the race, but it was 0.4 of a second that time round at the line between first and second. So Russell Patterson right now, will he start to get a bit concerned with this lead, or will he just sit back and learn from Kinmond?
Well, he's maybe biding his time. The bigger, heavier car's going to take more of a toll on brakes as the race continues. Russell's being lighter and probably with even bigger brakes than the Rover under the size of wheels that the Morgan has. That will be to his advantage as the race continues.
Yeah, and Andrew Graham, of course, in 4th place right now, and just behind him, Alistair Bapty, just smoke coming from his rear, so maybe just a bit of bodywork hitting against his wheel.
Yeah, I wondered about that earlier. I saw him in qualifying, or I wondered if there was some oil surge, if I can call it that, just at that one point as he started to come down from the top. He did show that earlier, and yeah, Patterson slightly closer as they come past our commentary position this time, and the next 3 similarly close. Cope not making inroads into the Golf of Berg as I thought he might, and after them, yeah, Bapty's definitely closer this time.
Yeah,
in the MG.
Yeah, he certainly is. And
Russell Patterson
he's got
pulling off.
Yeah, he's got some kind of issue.
Or slowing up anyway.
Yeah, he's slowing down. He's getting overtaken by every single car. The dream of winning the 2 races is over. It looks like Russell Patterson has some sort of issue. We don't know just yet. He's still going round, so he might just limp it back to the pit lane.
Yeah, that's very disappointing for him. And the thought of his late charge in the race, as we mentioned, we've obviously been the kiss of disappointment for him there. Yeah, he's directing Moll to pass him, and yeah, really disappointing for him.
So, yeah, so do you think maybe that may have been down to these hot conditions that we could have had, just taking a toll on the car?
Potentially could be, yeah. There's nothing outwardly. We're not seeing signs of smoke. We're not seeing something that caused them to pull over immediately as if there'd been a catastrophic failure. So the car still runs, but whether it's got to the stage it's running particularly hot, although I would have thought he might have come in sooner than have that problem. But as we see, Craig Houston having got past the green Lotus 7 that he was behind on the last lap, so Houston progressing well, and still Reynolds perhaps slightly closer to Kinman this time.
Yeah, all eyes are now going to be on this top three. This is the top three for the podium now. John Kinman leads the way, and we're about to see John Kinman come through the hairpin. And that time he was pretty steady there. It's probably the cleanest I've ever seen him around there. But Andrew Graham right now in third place. He's just defending from Alistair Baptiste, which once again we've seen that smoke coming out of his car, and it's something that I don't think is too much to worry about, as it happens almost at the same place every single lap.
Yeah, it must be something that that's similarly happening each time over the top of the hill there. But yeah, nothing that's concerning him so far. And Kinman perhaps slightly ahead now in the Rover, further ahead in the Rover of second place. Reynolds Escort, Graham third in the TR7 V8, and similarly Rover powered V8 of Alistair Baptiste in fourth place.
Yeah, and talking about Graham, he's just set the fastest lap of the race, so a 1:42.6. The top three actually in the 1:42.6s with their best lap. So all the drivers right now pushing on, and they're pushing each other on, which is something that we see quite a lot in racing. Is whenever you get in a group, you just see them start to bunch up. But now we see it. Back markers are starting to get into play.
Yep, it's going to be something that maybe to the advantage of some and the disadvantage of others. Nice shot of them there. Reynolds again able to close up under braking. He's potentially in a lighter car, and yeah, his technique there is excellent.
Yeah, it certainly is. You see him coming over the mountain now, and what a shot that is. I mean, you just see John Kinman just putting it through Hall Bend now before we go into the hairpin. And will he keep it clean this time round, or will he have the rear end sticking out at an angle? And we wait to see. And he's once again, he's taking a far more conservative approach this time out now that he's in first place and has some pressure from Martin Reynolds.
Yeah, he's maybe just decided that little bit of consolidation there, and then he can open up when he comes out on the start-finish line. And Graham closer to Reynolds this time, but as you mentioned earlier, not an easy place to pass, so any thought of that has to be worked out well in advance, and have a really clean lap in order to get the best advantage.
Yeah, it certainly is, and certainly with John Kinman's car, it's such a wide and long car that you really have to be committed and be able to make a move and have to line up. So maybe right now Martin Reynolds just trying to decide where he can make this move, as it's a 9/10 of a second gap, so it's a pretty decent sized gap right now. It's a comfortable gap, but all it takes is one corner to run wide.
Yeah, it's manageable at the moment, and we saw a clip a few seconds ago there of further down the order, Adam Kinman and his Rover Vitesse being pursued by Jimmy Crow in the white Escort. Meanwhile, back to the leaders again, and yeah, Graham continues closer to the 27 car of Reynolds, and Baptiste a couple of feet behind.
Yeah, I mean, in this class, of course, in this race, we have multiple classes. It's great to see that although there's completely different classes in this, they can all fight up front for the victory.
Yeah, very much so, yeah. The overall champion in the Scottish Classic Sports and Saloons has come from virtually all classes over the last 15 years or so. So the lowest powered Class A cars, which unfortunately we don't have any of here today, have been the winner overall in the past, and right up to the most powerful cars have been the overall winner.
Yeah, and they come across the start-finish line now, and once again it's Graham just trying to defend from Baptiste, and we come across the line to go in the 6th lap of this race. 9 minutes completed throughout this 20-minute lap race, and at this point putting about these heavier, older cars, do you think in this 20-minute race with these conditions that by the end of the race it's going to start getting to a bit of fitness might come into play?
Well, it may do to a point. Interestingly, for the cars, normally at Knockhill they run for 15-minute races, so this is a little bonus. If you're at the front and winning and your car's going well, another 5 minutes might not be a bonus if you're putting a strain on your vehicle. But as we see, Alistair Baptiste closest. He's been all race to the 78 TO, and he's got past Graham. Baptiste's got past there.
Yeah, and throwing smoke in Graham's face as he heads round what is Goosenecking down to Mansfield, and out of Mansfield we go, and it's still Kinman who leads away from Martin Reynolds, but Martin Reynolds is not going anywhere. He may just be sitting there just trying to learn on where he can make this move later on in the race, as we're halfway through, 10 minutes through in this race as we head up the mountain. Yeah,
he's got that surely to the front of his mind, and interestingly, Graham said at the start of the interview that he felt that the temperature was getting a little bit on the high side, so maybe his car's not running at its peak of efficiency in heat. Here we see Donald Dewar in golf about to be lapped by the leader. Oh, in fact, Dewar is passed by the leading 4 cars.
Yeah, just trying to get out of the way there.
Doing his best. Yeah, he didn't have the best of times in qualifying early on in the race, and here as we come along the straight again, Graham's gone past Baptiste. Oh, very close as they climb.
Yeah, blue flags waving out, just trying to tell back markers that faster cars are, of course, approaching.
Yeah.
And back markers doing a great job of getting out of the way and not interfering with this great race that we have at the front.
Yeah, they're aware of what's going on around them so far, and that's encouraging that they can keep the flow of the event going as we would like to see it. Still Kinman again making his way from Reynolds. At some points he seems further ahead, and others Reynolds able to make up quite a bit of ground under braking.
Certainly does, but once again it's this battle for third place that seems to be raging on, and it looks like Baptiste is not giving in. You can just see every single time for that corner, every single time for Gooseneck, it's just smoke pouring out his rear end, but whatever it is, it's not affecting his speed because he's closing up, and he's closing up fast once again on Andrew Graham.
Yeah, he's well up each time, and it maybe slightly further behind that time.
As we head round to see some more back markers appearing, and 11 minutes and 50 seconds into this race, only 8 minutes left now for this race, and now they come through the hairpin. We can see a couple of cars just trying to find their way with blue flags waving, of course, for John Kinman, race leader, but with him getting slightly held up there, now we can see once again they're starting to bunch up.
Yeah, they come up on the rear of Charles College in the blue Mini Marcos number 50, and the red clan of Peter Richards, and one of the XR2 class cars as well.
Yeah, of course, the XR2 cars being Class H in this classic Sports and Saloon Championship. But once again, you can see it's Graham that is in third place, but lurking behind him it is Alistair Baptiste, and he's just trying to find any way past. But once again, it just depends on what corner it is, because Alistair Baptiste looks like he's lost a lot of time on the straight there, as it looked like almost Graham was trying to find a way past Martin Reynolds.
Yeah, it was a slightly different look there, but then again Reynolds moves away. Meanwhile, 78 of Graham and Baptiste, and we've seen one of the rear back markers, that's the Triumph GT6, pull off there, and on screen Graham is close to Reynolds. Oh, Reynolds slightly wide there, giving another opportunity to Graham, and meanwhile as they fight with each other, this has allowed Kinman to increase his lead slightly. So noticeable increase in lead there as Reynolds was slightly sideways, and Baptiste incredibly close here, but not a place he's ever going to be able to overtake.
Yeah, so was trying to overtake, especially at this part of the lap. But yeah, it was Clive Gibson who went into the grass there. We seen actually in race 1 that Clive had some sort of issue. We seen the hood up of the car at the end of the race, and they had to retire, which obviously is not what he was wanting.
Yeah, some lunchtime repairs have got him back out there again, which is great for one of our local competitors coming along to join in and really make it an interesting field, because there aren't too many Triumph GT6s on the go. And this is Ronnie Haynes in the yellow Escort Mexico, being lapped by John Kinmond, and the following 3 cars about to do the same.
Yeah, you can just see him powering up the hill, powering through Park Straight, heading to Park Corner and getting the car turned in. And with these older cars, obviously they're much heavier, so you have to properly line up the corners. You can actually see it was like Martin Reynolds just getting slightly held up there, so maybe this might play into Graham's hands. As you see, almost contact there while he tries to lap him, while Andrew Graham tries to get past him back, just being as aggressive with the back markers. So clearly, back markers getting no sympathy.
Maybe not quite as much as they might have at other times, but yeah, it is quite a tight track, and the cars that are on the lead lap are trying to maintain their advantage and keep up with each other. So yeah, the back marker effect there has seemed to spread them out a little, but the biggest spreading of all is Kinman's ability to increase his lead.
Yes, certainly. As last time round, it was a 3-second lead that Kinman had, so he's just keeping it up and he's keeping it steady. So it's going to be interesting as we come around this time with, of course, back markers coming into play that time round on what is going to happen. Will the gap increase? It looks like it probably will, because I believe Martin Reynolds did get held up by a back marker, and that gap does look pretty significant right now. So it looks like John Kinman right now just has to bring this home. I mean, anything can happen obviously in racing, but we come across the line 0.8 of a second. It's risen by that time round, so Martin Reynolds dropping back slightly because of back markers, but of course this is racing. It's just all about luck from whenever you get to them.
Yeah, and you can see that there's quite a substantial gap, not only between Kinman and the yellow and white and blue Escort there of Reynolds in second place, but this group of 4 cars have pulled away considerably from next up, which is the 2 Golfs, the 5th place of Tim Moll, then Charlie Cope, and then it's the Lotus battle between Gary Thomas and Craig Houston.
Yeah, so battles all the way down the field, which is great to see. It's great to see such a mixed field, but yet all the way down through the order we have these battles, and we have these battles raging on for the whole race. 60 minutes in the race, just 4 minutes left, and once again you can see the smoke from Alistair Baptine. You can see just how smooth Martin Reynolds is trying to be right now, using every single inch of the track. He's being pinpoint perfect.
Yeah, a good approach from him that time, no wide running, and yeah, I think in the conditions here being as hot as they are, the cars are maybe not quite performing at the levels they might otherwise have done in cooler conditions. They're sort of running in the 1 minute 42 is the best laps that they've done so far, sometimes now dipping into 1 minute 43, so they're not quite as fast as they would have been in slightly milder conditions.
Yeah, certainly not, but maybe now there's getting to the point where their brakes are starting to fade a little bit and running wide into corners, and it's really now where every single lap at every single corner you may just have to change your braking marker, which is where experience really comes into play.
Yeah, the brake issue is a very good point. Yeah, in these conditions and the quite tight confines where there's a lot of braking to be done, it's work for it. And there's the back marker again, with the first 4 cruising by. They're passing the Golf of Donald Dewar.
Yeah, so just trying to get past them right around the outside of the back markers. Now it's at the point in the race where blue flags are flying absolutely everywhere. Martin Reynolds that time round set the fastest lap of the race actually with a 1:41.729. So the only person in this race in the 41s.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's especially good considering it's at this point where we might have thought his optimum performance wouldn't have been available. So yeah, perhaps it got to a stage where he had a little less pressure behind him and it allowed him to charge ahead, and yeah, he certainly has reduced the gap to John Kinman, both with his increasing performance and perhaps Kinman's car suffering a bit from brake issues. Yeah, notably quicker. And meanwhile the 2 cars of 78 of Graham, the TVR 7V8 and Alistair Baptiste's MG there, number 13, very close together again.
Yeah, as we head around the final couple of corners around the circuit, which I believe will be the final lap of the race. So now if Martin Reynolds wants to make anything out of this race, any victory, he needs to do it now, as the gap is now just 1.3 seconds that time round, and another lap in the 41 seconds. So that time round, actually, I believe that was another fastest lap. Yes, it was a 141.635. So once again, the only person in the 141. So Martin Reynolds on this final lap is still pushing on.
Very much so. Yeah, he's making a great effort.
Yeah, you could just see in the final couple of laps, you could just see he's starting to keep his driving far more smooth, and that's clearly coming to him, as this track takes consistency. You just have to be smooth. You can't attack this track too much at some of these corners.
Yeah, it's proved to be effective, and he's maybe hoping that they'd either run a couple of laps. It would give him a bit more time to catch the mighty rover there, number 63 of John Kinman.
Yeah, you can just see visibly that gap has came down significantly over the past couple of laps. You don't even need a timing screen in front of you to know that, but now it's on the final laps. It doesn't look like John Kinman is going to get attacked for this first place.
No, it would seem not, but no. Yeah, he's maybe a little smoother there than he might otherwise have done, just to be certain of not doing anything that would compromise his position.
Yeah, now we're just waiting for John Kinman just to come around the final couple of corners before he powers it down for the straight for the final time. There he is in your picture, just behind Martin Reynolds, but it's John Kinman who wins race 2 of the Classic Sports and Saloon Championship, with Martin Reynolds in second and Andrew Graham coming home in third, with Alistair Baptiste just getting 4th place. A great battle between the top 4 there all throughout the race, and Tim Mull should come home in 5th.
Yeah, superb. A great track, great weather, great competition, and a superb spectacle of classic car racing. We see coming over the line now, that Moll and now Jimmy Crow in the Escort RS 2000, and we now await the next of the field to come through.
So obviously Russell Patterson DNFing from that race after having some kind of mechanical issue, but I don't think he can't be too disappointed from this weekend. He's shown some amazing pace, qualifying 4 seconds faster than everyone and over a 10-second lead for race 1. So although he got a DNF, he clearly shown everyone exactly what he can do here at SMRC.
Yeah, it was a great performance in the first race, and hopefully we'll see him out again soon at Knockhill, and joining in at the front, where he certainly seems to be on a regular basis.
Yeah, he certainly does, and you can just see punch in the air there is John Kinman, and John Kinman will be absolutely delighted with that. A 141.7 on his last lap, actually, so he managed just to match the pace of Martin Reynolds on that final lap. So it's just proven once again that even though these cars are older and it was late on in the race, these drivers clearly still pushing, and what a spectacle it is to see.
Yeah, very enjoyable, and thanks for the opportunity to join in the commentary again, and I may well be back on air at Knockhill before long.
Yep, thanks for joining us, and thanks. It was great having you, and great having your insight and knowledge. So yeah, thanks for having us, and
my pleasure.
Cheers.
Until next time.
Yeah, until next time.
Thank you.
Hopefully you'll hear him at Knockhill Racing Circuit, where it will be round 5 of the SMRC Car Racing Championship, and we will be back in Scotland for that round. So now it is time where they'll head into the holding areas. After a pretty commanding victory from John Kim in the final couple of laps, he did allow Martin Reynolds just to catch up, but he kept his cool, he kept it clean, and on the final lap he set his personal best lap of the race, and not far off the fastest lap, about a 10th of a second off the fastest lap of the race. That's on the final time round from John Kinman, so he wouldn't allow Martin Reynolds to catch up. So John Kinman taking the race victory, coming in to Park Ferry and back to the paddock after what was race 2 of the Classic Sports and Saloon, and what a race it was, as the top 4 throughout the whole race just battled right to the end, and that's what is great to see in this class. Although they're older cars, and although these cars probably shouldn't be racing, as I guess you could say, they are, and it's great to see, and it's producing great racing, which is exactly why we're here, is just for great racing. It's run by people who love motorsport and love car racing, which is exactly why they're still doing it. So great to see, and great to have a guest in the commentary box as always. My name is Lewis Ray, taking you through today's action, and of course that was the Scottish Classic Sports and Saloon Championship, which is sponsored by Edinburgh Watch Company. So it's great having sponsors along in this series. It's great having so many people supporting the SMRC Championship, and of course the SMRC Championship is sponsored by Reese Motorsport Insurance. So it's great having more sponsors involved, more money in sport, making the sport safer, and we can hopefully expand the SMRC in the future.